Hey Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Hey Steve, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. In real estate, we are talking today about the shadow inventory of houses growing. In December, we saw an uptick in the number of delistings. Nearly 73,000 homes were pulled from sale after they failed to find a buyer at the prices those sellers wanted, which is a lot of inventory that's now kind of in the shadows hanging out there. Um, this could put prices under pressure in the futures if those buyers come if those sellers come back out. Um, we saw in December also, we see it was 1.15 million homes were for sale in the US, and that was a 16% increase from the same month of 2023. So we are seeing more interest in selling, even though people don't want to make price concessions in order to allow those sales to happen. And we're not seeing prices slip too much so far. Um, but we are seeing prices slip some, partly because of it. New homes being built are coming in at smaller sizes as builders try to keep them affordable. And the number of completed and ready to occupy new homes that rose 46% as we are seeing new product come online. But again, some of those houses are selling for less because they're just simply smaller. Some of your thoughts in terms of us seeing some shadow inventory building up there and us seeing sellers and buyers not willing to agree on pricing right now in residential real estate.
Look, I think there's kind of some information that is maybe lacking from this, but I think if you look at that number, like the 73,000 homes were pulled, out of 1.15 million. That's 6%. I tend to believe that there's always, at some point, and it's probably not 10% of the average listing prices, but somewhere in that 3 to 5% range of people who are just going to list houses to see if they can get their price. And if they can't get it, then so be it. And then I think, there's even a larger percentage of people who will get pretty dang close or pretty damn close to the number that they're asking, but somebody, typically comes off 10% or 5%. As a seller, I typically believe and know that whatever your asking price is, you might get it depending upon the market is. But if somebody offers you somewhere between 5 and 10% of your asking price, take it. Unless you have no other option because you're in foreclosure and you just can't get rid of it or something of the sort. Take it and move on. It should be pretty dang close to what what you're trying to get out with anyway. And as a matter of moving on, just move on. But I think there's some numbers in there, that probably we're going to drop off anyway. And then the other side, I think, is you probably also have some stale inventory that's been sitting there for a long time. And people just had it sitting there for such a long time. Finally said, you know what, I'm going to pull it off. And there's been stuff where it's like I constantly look at at houses for sale, especially on Zillow, where you can see the record of monthly record of price increases, price decreases. Was listed for sale this month, was pulled from this month, and now it's back on again. So there's information where you can see how people are handling this and what they're doing. So it doesn't surprise me. I think people are still going to have to, psychologically speaking, get used to, well, I can't just list my house for, because I think it's worth 500 or $1 million. I'm going to get 500 or $1 million. Those days have kind of passed.
Yeah, and I think, what we're seeing to a degree is just the market adjusting to these
Yeah.
higher financing costs, these higher mortgage rates. And I do think and every market's different, local market's different, every house is different, but in general, I don't think residential real estate is your best opportunity in the real estate markets as far as buying something that's going to go up in value. I think there's other more attractive areas because I just think you didn't get the market's being very slow to adjust to this new financing environment we're operating in, and there's probably better opportunity elsewhere, I think also.
Well, for sure. And I think, I grew up, and maybe you did too, where I grew up where your house is your home. It's, that's how I was taught. It's not your investment. It's not an investment, even though everybody touts it as being the biggest investment you ever make. Sure, it's where you live. But from the side of it being an actual investment, something that is going to produce, capital gain returns, sure. I just don't, I think there's a lot of people who have over the last couple of years who have bought thinking that it's going to be their, their primary household, but it's also their, their number one investment that's going to create the biggest return. I just, I think a lot of people thought that way and still think that way instead of making a house a home.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about how interest rates are higher. We've also talked about insurance costs being higher. We've talked about materials, labor costs being higher.
Yep.
I think, to a degree, we're just hitting a ceiling here where, sellers may be wanting more than buyers can actually afford to pay. And I just kind of keep coming back in residential housing. I just don't think there's a tremendous amount of upside there. That comes with a caveat. That's an opinion. For instance, I like the opportunities in a lot of multifamily for markets for rental because for those same
Yeah.
reasons that a lot of people can't afford to buy at these prices. So they're going to have to rent instead. So I think for an investor, you'd be well advised to look at areas other than just residential real estate if you're looking to make a real estate investment.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair to that point, apartment rents are gonna continue rising. I mean, and I don't mean just, there's a lot of inventory that's come online over the last couple of years. And last year, I think, was the most inventory multifamily that's come online in forever, basically, or at least for a very long period of time. And you would think that that would add a lot of, a lot of empty vacant inventory sitting there. But the truth is, to your point, people can't afford all these prices, and so they're going to continue to rent, and rental rates are going to continue to increase. So
Well, that's another video we're going to be doing. So, we'll be talking about that shortly. Thanks a lot for the insights, Jeff. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Visit the website selectfincap.com. Register for our free newsletter on real estate news and to get a look at some commercial real estate investment opportunities outside of residential single family houses. Thanks a lot.
thanks, Steve.